Content is definitely king here at the LATV Festival, where Day 2, dubbed Content Industry Forum, focuses on how to market, sell, and make content across a variety of platforms. NATPE TV spoke with many of today's participants, asking them for their insight on this year's festival. Here's what they had to say.
I think what really drew me here was that I've been waiting for something like this to happen in our country for about 15 years. As you know, I've spent, 25 years in New York and LA in television, but my real beat is the international world outside of the U.S. And this is the closest I've seen us yet come to getting something together like the Edinburgh Festival for TV in the UK, where there's panels and it's not about selling and it's just about hearing things and mind sharing and schmoozing. You know, I'm excited to see it happen. I've been waiting for this.
There's no question you have to keep in mind the international aspects to your production when you're casting, when you're putting the writers together. A lot of times you're looking for tax credits or content deals, and you're trying to hit those levels that you need to hit to be able to qualify. So on that basis alone, I think it's really important to keep that in mind from the very get-go. But at the end of the day, you want to make the best possible creative show, and you don't want to compromise your creative vision. So if there are, if you have to use an American actor and there are other things that you can do to ultimately qualify, then you look at all the possibilities.
I try to come up with some kind of a concept that's in some way I think is kind of commercial, and then it ends up being completely not commercial and whatever, for lack of a better word, quirky. But then I totally forget about it. Yeah, like I initially think about that and then I forget and try to do whatever feels right.
The truth of the matter is, the way I look at it is solely that I'm going to have to spend my next 2 years daily on whatever it is we're working on. So it's just got to be something that I'm very interested in, that, but it's a cliche to say that I'm passionate about, but that'll hold my attention, because I have a terribly short attention span.
There's no question that around the world dollars are tight everywhere, and that the imperative for having to do these things is going to become higher. But I think that another way to look at them, as opposed to being co-productions, where there actually is an insinuation that you're going to be producing, is that a lot of things really are a co-commission, where you've got two broadcasters in different countries, or three broadcasters who are all agreeing to participate. And I think that may take some of the onus off of just having to make sure that everything is as creatively, can make sure that everything is creatively as well served as it can be.
The tax credits in Canada still exist and are still very appealing, but now there's tax credits in New Mexico and Michigan and New Orleans and Florida, all over. I mean, there are so many places in the United States now with equally advantageous tax incentives that I would say Canada is declining somewhat in production.
I would venture to say that comedy writing is the result of years and years of deeply felt emotional pain that has no vent. It has no. It can't access itself to athletics or sexual conquest, and so it comes out sideways, and it becomes comedy. I don't think it's generally a healthy process. If there's a positive, healthy glow about a person, they're probably a network executive.
To get a camera and a Mac and cut your own thing, for a younger generation, I always say to them, I'm like, you guys have it made. I mean, you can go shoot your thing. Things like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, those guys shot it themselves and then went to a network and said, here's what we want to do. So I think it's a tremendous asset, and I think most networks, we like it, because again, you said we're risk averse, and if we see that you know what you're doing and you know how to do the work, it actually helps us feel more comfortable taking a shot. And you're aggressive. That means you're aggressive and ambitious and innovative. It's all good things.
Study storytelling. A lot of people take English classes in college and literature classes, and they learn English, but very seldom do they learn storytelling, and storytelling is a different craft than English. And I'd really encourage them to take story classes and story seminars, like Robert McKee's class, things like that. Storytelling is the craft of television, not always English.
40% of our income is based on the United States, 60% around the world. No one territory hugely more than any other. So, we feel we're pretty protected. And, right now, exports are going to be better for us because of the value. That could change and will change in the next few years. Sometimes we make money on currency exchange. Sometimes you just go to London and you bite down hard, where it's so expensive. So
we really hope to develop a collaborative relationship with a producer right from the beginning. And so whether it's a new show coming in or a producer that we've worked with in the past, we need to understand the core essence of that show and really what they were envisioning when they developed the premise and the characters and everything else. So when we develop a marketing campaign, we're promoting the show that is the television show. We want it to really be correct because we're promising the audience something, and the show has to pay off on that promise. So what we're finding is more and more producers understand that they not only want to work with us, they need to work with us from the beginning and keep those relationships going as long as we can.
On the one hand, I think we're looking to do more high-end programming that really don't lend themselves to co-productions because you've got a network that is so invested in the show, they don't want other partners. So, for example, we're doing a series for HBO called Hung that Michael, I think, talked about, where Alexander Payne is directing the pilot, and that's not a co-production. On the other hand, I think the series that are sort of in that middle range where, the networks want to put up maybe half of what their normal licensee would be, and they're looking to us to come up with creative ideas or package it with showrunners or other talent that appeals to the American audience, but yet we can still find other partners who trust that as a supplier, we can deliver them a quality show. So, and I think that's an area where Canada and the U.S. Is working very well because Canada culturally is very similar to the U.S. Language is very similar, a couple of funny accents here and there, but other than that, a Canadian show, and I think Carrie probably talked about Flashpoint, a show like that, that's really a Canadian-generated show creatively can work in the U.S. on CBS. I think that's a great example of a co-production that works really well in both countries.
At Plaster City, I was able to actually edit Red's reel for NAB, and it's just a kind of a non-standard. Let's just sit down in a room and just make something cool, make something fun, put some pretty pictures together, and have a good time with it. But there isn't really a map with everything that is going on, and that's also how it's trickled down into post-production. At Plaster City, we don't really have a roadmap for how things are supposed to work or how they should work or how we want them to work. We kind of have to let it, I say, like, when you hold onto a rope too tight, you get rope burn. And when you're dealing with the red, if you hang on too tight, you can get burned on it. So you kind of have to let go a little bit and let the new medium kind of be part of more of an exploratory process and how to use it. And you got to change your habits and allow people to try exploring new avenues in order to make the product work. But I should say, when it's done right and when it's in the right hands, you got the right talent around it, the shows are literally flawless. And you can get so much done in such a short amount of time with a lot better economics involved. It really is kind of a saving grace to a lot of filmmakers.
Tickets are still available for tonight's NATPE Reality Innovator Award presentation given to the producers of American Idol for their Idol Gives Back campaign. For more information on this year's 2008 LATV Festival, visit www.latvfest.net. For NATPE TV, I'm Justin Softly.